Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Well, Tony, there are many seasons in a college football year, and we have apparently hit the next one of those seasons, even before college football playoff season. Tony, it is transfer portal season.
Yeah, breaking news just tweeted out by himself, Gabe Powers, Ohio State redshirt sophomore linebacker, entering the transfer portal, and he sent out a tweet and letting people know, thanking Buckeye Nation. I'll read it real quick for you here. I want to thank all of Buckeye Nation for the support I have received through my 3 years here at Ohio State. It has been a blessing being a part of Buckeye Nation. After much prayer and talking to my family, I've decided it's in my best interest to enter the transfer portal with 2 years of eligibility left. God bless all of you, and go Bucks. And I've seen other players entering the portal from other schools, and I wasn't sure why they're doing it now with the playoffs still going on and the possibility of being there. But this is something that Gabe Powers felt was best for him. And does the transfer surprise me? No, I think the timing more than anything else. Because when you look at Arvell Reese had moved ahead of him as a sophomore, and then you look at the snap counts, Tom, and true freshman Peyton Pierce ended up getting more snaps than Powers did this year. But Gabe Powers played in every single game this season. Half of those, I think, on special teams, half on defense. But this is now a guy that will have to be replaced. But your thoughts on Gabe Powers saying goodbye?
He kind of fits the profile of the kind of guy who does sometimes hit the portal. If you were going to kind of make a list of who might fit that profile, he feels like, he's been there 3 years. He's taken on a little bit of a bigger role with the team, but 28 snaps on defense this year. And he certainly had, we say Gabe Powers and everyone's going to say, hey, remember the pick 6 against Akron? And yeah, he had an impact play in that game, but he only played 5 snaps in that game. And he played 5 snaps against Western Michigan. And he was on special teams, and he certainly had a role this year. And I'm sure that Ohio State would certainly, if he was transferring, certainly prefer him to stay and sort of continue that role on special teams. But if you feel like you are looking for a new home and you want to get that process started as soon as possible, I get it. And I'm sure he's going to go. You figure there've been a lot of Buckeyes have gone to Cincinnati, for example, or some MAC schools, and you've seen some of those guys have really good, solid careers, take on much bigger roles with some of those in some of their new homes. He was someone who was certainly a role player for Ohio State, especially on special teams. But as you said, it felt like there were a couple guys who maybe had sort of perhaps surpassed him, younger guys. And when you see that a lot of times is sort of a tip off that, it might be someone who's at least sort of thinking about a change.
Yeah, and Gabe Powers was seen as a guy that was going to be a middle linebacker, and then you have a player who is 1 year younger, Arvell Reese, come in and just take that role as the number 2 middle linebacker, so much so that he was in the rotation and played a ton this year. So when you are, same eligibility wise, but a player who is younger than you, and you've seen your opportunity for play go away, then yes, this is kind of a textbook transfer situation. And he's a Marysville High School guy. He was a number 10 linebacker in the class of 2022, and he will latch on somewhere where plenty of teams will reach out to him unless he already knows where he wants to go. So yeah, it's just unfortunate for him, but that's life at Ohio State, where you've got every single year, every single class comes in, and you don't know what they're bringing in, but then you start watching, and as a player, you start seeing the snaps, and then once the games get here, that's where the coaches have to be honest, and that's where the guys play who are ready to play, or who they trust, and who are the best fits, and who are going to get all of the reps. And yeah, you can't hide that. And so then you make a decision, but it is the season, and I didn't expect it this soon, but everything is moving up. Wednesday is signing day, so I guess why not have the portal going on as well? Gabe Powers, 5 tackles on the season, one pass broken up, the interception that we know about. A big kid, when he was being recruited, there was thought that maybe he would play some of the jack role for Jim Knowles. And he's a fellow member of the 2022 class with CJ Hicks, who could also do that, but really have not yet gotten as much as they wanted, certainly out of that 2022 linebacker class with him and CJ Hicks. And now they'll get even less moving forward.
And you wonder, I mean, Ohio State obviously is extremely happy that they got Cody Simon back this year, but you wonder if Cody Simon wasn't back, that, how does that maybe change there's obviously a lot more snaps available. Does that increase the CJ Hicks snaps? Does that increase the Arvell Reese snaps? Does that increase the Peyton Pierce snaps? Does that increase the Gabe Powers snaps? I mean, those guys are all potentially in that mix, either directly or with moving someone around. But, obviously they are extraordinarily happy to have Cody Simon back. He's played a fantastic, fantastic season. And you also, this is a spot where they only have really two linebackers on the field most of the time. You see them in a 4-3 sometimes, and you saw that a little bit against Michigan, but sort of the base defense under Jim Knowles has been a 4-2-5. And so there just are not that many linebacker snaps to go around. That makes it a little tricky. Even, if you bring in two linebackers a year, you're going to bring in two linebackers a year. Sometimes you're going to bring in three linebackers. If you bring in two linebackers, there are only so many snaps. If you've got a Cody Simon who's back for his 5th year, and you've got CJ Hicks, Sonny Styles was not in the mix for linebacker 12 months ago. So then you bring back Cody Simon and you add Sonny Styles to the mix there. Those are the two guys who got the most snaps at linebacker this year. And this time, 12 months ago, there was no guarantee that either of them were going to be in that linebacker mix this year. They were over 1,100 snaps for those two guys. The next person lower than that was Arvell Reese at 274, CJ Hicks at 135. So it feels a little bit like after the Pete Werner and Tuff Borland class left, it was like you had guys who'd been sitting for like 3 years behind those guys. And some of those guys, it didn't pan out, but then it's like, okay, now it's your 4th year. And you really, if you haven't gotten the field at that point, you're really kind of a little behind the 8 ball. So yeah, transferring with, at this point of the calendar, it's early, and I'm sure that they would love to have him around for the bulk of the college football playoff, but the transfer portal also does close at some point, and you also have teams who are going to start filling up their rosters between early signing day and all the guys who are going in the portal whose teams are not headed to the playoffs. So, at some point you kind of got to make a business decision, and this feels like a business decision. As you said, his dad is a coach. This is a family that is well-versed in football and all of that kind of stuff. And so, you would assume it is probably an informed decision. And while it might be a surprise to us, I'm sure a good bit of thought went into it.
You mentioned the Tuff Borland, Pete Werner, and how all of the players waiting behind them. Dallas Gannett ends up going to Toledo and has back-to-back seasons of 116 tackles for the Rockets. Yep. So there will be a place for him. Now you look at that 2021 or the 2022 recruiting class as we close it down. 21 signees in that class. 9 of them have transferred. And now that class will be seniors next season, and there's not a lot left. And so that's going to be something where the classes since then, they're going to have to hit. And of course, you've got the portal, but they're going to need to fill some things out here. So there you go. Gabe Powers headed off to the transfer portal. This will not be the last Buckeye to hit the portal. And it's here. The season is upon us. And when guys do announce, we will break it down and talk about it and what it means for the Buckeyes. And this one is one that they can handle, but it's one they're going to have to fill in terms of the special teams and then also the linebacker depth moving forward. So there you go. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. We would appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to be notified when we drop videos such as this one. And of course, if you're listening to the podcast platforms, go ahead and give us a 5-star rating and review. And we will be talking about this as well at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Sign up now. Become a member, $4.99 for the first month. We're going to be talking about it on the Buckeye Huddle message board presented by Jeff Ruby's Columbus. So find us there as well. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys later.